1980, 2011, and 2025. If I were to ask you what those 3 years have in common, could you tell me? Because those are the 3 times that silver broke out to $50. Actually, the most recent run in 2025, last month, was well above $50, hitting all-time highs. But what's interesting is each of those runs were led by drastically different scenarios. So we're going to hyper-analyze these prices and these dates and compare and contrast. Because if that led silver to $50 back then, what could it push silver to today, since times are much more extreme and severe? Plus, if you incorporate inflation-adjusted prices, we still have a lot of room to run. First and foremost, though, welcome. Thank you for tuning into your daily silver news. My name is Silver Slayer, and if you want the latest information on what's happening across the globe and how that affects the price of precious metals, more specifically silver, click subscribe and click the bell. Also, go enter my silver giveaway. If you want a chance to get silver shipped straight to your front doorstep, all you have to do is click one button and go enter. I will link the entry video in the pinned comment and the description. Like always, may the luckiest stacker win. Now, this is an article from Schiff Gold that was posted last week, and they are talking about modern silver bull markets, 1970s to today. They compare the 3 times, and like I said, each of these instances or these scenarios were much different. We had the 1980s run, which was led more from the Hunt brothers cornering the market. Then you had the 2011 run, which really started in like 2008 from the credit financial crisis, recession/depression, billions of dollars in stimulus, and that led to $50 silver in 2011, and then this time it really started in 2020 from COVID, and you get all this stuff, pushed down, trillions of dollars of stimulus, global pandemic, a shortage, all this stuff from Wall Street silver to this and that, all these wars. So if that were to lead silver to $50 back then, well, we are living in a much more extreme, severe, more dramatic time. So is this run over, or is it just beginning? And that's kind of what I'm hinting towards. So with that said, I will link this article in the description, and let's talk silver. Silver has been long maligned as the poor man's gold, but history shows that when it runs, it often outperforms gold by multiples. In fact, silver has delivered some of the most dramatic bull markets in modern financial history, which is pretty crazy because you would think that would be applied to cryptocurrency, right? Like some meme coin that, a group of people, all just pump and dumped or something. Precious metals usually doesn't move like that. It's more like the tortoise and the hare. But recently we've seen silver do some extremely crazy things. And one, it shows how manipulation can be applied into any market. But also it shows potential where people are understanding safe havens and the benefits of preserving your wealth, putting your money into something that holds its value as the dollar depreciates in value, as the dollar is declining. So as we watch silver gather momentum in the current cycle, it's worth looking back at previous silver bull runs, what triggered them, and how today's macro environment sets the stage for what could be silver's most explosive move yet. The 1970s bull market, inflation, oil, and the Hunt brothers. Now, of course, there's a lot of backstory to all of this. Each one of these situations I could make a 3-part video over. Actually, I did make like a docu-series talking about the Hunt brothers back in the day several years ago, like a 4-part series. It's a very, very deep situation. There's a lot to it. There's the mainstream media side of things, and then there's more of the truth of what happened. Regardless, though, there's a lot to this. So when we're going over these situation, just know there's a lot more to the situation, but just generally this is what happened. So in 1971, President Nixon officially took the US off the gold standard, untethering the dollar from precious metals. What followed was a decade of stagflation, not unlike our current scenario where high inflation combines with low growth. Silver began the decade around $1.50 and climbed slowly with inflation, maintaining its value against a declining dollar. dollar. But later that decade, as inflation exploded and fiat money faced a crisis of confidence, oil shocks in an increasingly unstable Middle East caused silver to rip even higher. Then, famously, a family of oil magnates named the Hunt brothers attempted to corner the silver market. I mean, attempted is true, but they pulled it off. The government just came in and stopped it. I mean, they kind of did pull it off. From the early 70s to around 1980, they accumulated over 100 million ounces of physical silver and futures contracts, nearly a third of the entire non-state held global supply. Nearly a third of all the silver. I mean, they owned so much silver that, because these are three billionaire brothers. A lot of people think there's only two. There's three of them. They owned so much silver that back then, silver was still very useful, right? I mean, they were still advanced technologically enough in 1980 where you still needed silver. And if you had these guys just come and sweep it all out, one, it would have exposed the markets, the corruption. But two, that's just not realistic, especially since they turned the contracts into physical delivery. They tried to get it all physical. Of course, that's not realistic. There's not that much silver out there from the paper contracts. And, the government had to come in and ban silver trading. It was called Silver Rule 7. They literally banned silver on the spot. But anyways, so from the early 70s to around 1980, they accumulated 100 million ounces, nearly a third of the entire non-state held global supply. It ignited a fervor that took silver from $6 an ounce in the late 70s to nearly $50 in early 1980. A stunning silver crash ensued that would be known as Silver Thursday. That was where silver crashed on a Thursday, like over 50%. Like, it was crazy. And I mean, think about this time. I mean, I'm sure some of you stacked back then, or at least were alive to hear about it. I wasn't yet. But think about reading, watching the news, and you hear this crazy situation happening of these very successful, wealthy, billionaires that are doing something. And the everyday person doesn't know that the dollar's worthless. They aren't silver stackers, right? Like you and I, we know the system. We know the dollar's true value. We know silver's true value. We know what a safe haven is. We know that we're preserving our money as the dollar's crashing because the system is corrupt. Most people don't know that. And with the Hunt brothers coming out publicly in mainstream media, everybody would know that. And the government does not want everyone to know the truth. So how could you still talk about this story but make people look past what they're actually doing? Well, portray them as evil criminals doing something illegal, so then nobody looks at the truth. They're more focused over here. Don't look at why they're actually investing into silver. They're just doing something illegal. They're trying to corner the market. This is messed up. You see how there's the mainstream media narrative and there's a deeper narrative of what's going on? Just like today, if I expose a lot of stuff on my channel. If YouTube tries to expose me or shut me down because I'm speaking a lot of truth, they would try to come at it from an angle of I'm trying to do something bad, right? Or I'm doing something bad. So people that have never invested in a single dollar in their entire life wouldn't know that I'm doing something to preserve my wealth and help take control of my wealth, right? But anyways, that was a long ramble, but sometimes I like giving context when due. Hopefully my rambles are specifically where, they should be. Sometimes I watch channels and it's like, let's get to the point. But anyways, it was a lesson for not only regulators, but also any market watchers who might be curious about how volatile silver can be under certain market conditions. Their scheme inspired new regulations surrounding margin requirements for commodity buyers, since Hunts relied heavily on borrowed money for their purchase. Yeah, see, they probably would have got away with it, but they did get into some shady stuff, unfortunately. And they capitalized on, the government, feds capitalized on that. So 2001 to 2011 bull market, war printing, and Chinese super cycle. So silver's next major bull run came out of the 2000s after bottoming. And actually, let me compare this to today, because I said we would break down each of these three times and compare them to today. Well, there are some similarities because the Hunt brothers cornered the market, right? They bought up all this, they did a silver squeeze with their wealth. Nowadays, we are seeing more of a natural silver squeeze happen from just people wanting it, but it's exposing the COMEX and the LBMA of the lack of silver, the free float available. So the Hunt brothers did it more from like a stint. So did Wall Street Silver. Like this was more orchestrated. But now it's just naturally happening because everyone wants a slice of the silver pie. Where this is more that those stints are very very quick, they're temporary, where a natural silver squeeze, from just industry itself, as silver's needed everywhere, that's going to stick, that's going to stay around, that's not just this temporary little instance. So yeah, anyways, so silver's next major bull run came out of the 2000s after bottoming in 2001 at just over $4 an ounce. Silver began a decade-long rally that peaked in April of 2011 at nearly $50 an ounce, nearly matching the Hunt brothers era. After 9/11, an inflationary period began that was sparked by Bush's permanent war on terror, justifying massive spending to fight global wars and expand domestic bureaucracies. Meanwhile, China's economy was rapidly expanding. Its meteoric ascent to challenge U.S. dominance brought with it a commodity supercycle where demand for raw materials caused a violent rise in commodity prices. Plus, silver is used in war, and with all the wars going on, all the silver used in, in missiles and everything, satellites, drones, torpedoes, every single thing silver's used for. That's like a black budget of silver that we really don't talk about because it's not incorporated in the numbers, the annual numbers. So later, of course, the subprime mortgage market collapsed, helping to trigger the 2007-2008 financial crisis. Unprecedented quantitative easing programs from the Fed printed trillions, and taxpayer bailouts were passed by lawmakers, massively expanding the money supply and sending silver soaring further as the dollar was aggressively debased. By 2011, silver began to tumble back down, falling over 70%. That would all change again in 2020. Do you guys remember? I remember this so vividly. Do you guys remember what happened in at the end of 2019? There was two things in particular that happened right before COVID. And I remember this because I was making daily videos back then, almost 6 years ago. Still making daily videos like I am right now. But it was the Saudi Arabian oil fields getting bombed, and the Iran tensions, and then it was the U.S.-China trade wars. And then right after that, COVID happened. I remember those four instances so vividly because it was so crazy. Like the U.S.-China trade wars were going, that was such a big, deal. But then as soon as COVID happened, all of that other stuff kind of just went out the window. We really didn't even think about it. But yeah, the Saudi Arabian oil fields, there was Iran tensions, the U.S.-China trade wars, and then bam, COVID happened. And then silver shot down to like $11 in March of 2020. So anyways, between the COVID crash in March of 2020 and the following August, silver would boom amidst a flurry of pandemic panic and broad global uncertainty. Yeah, silver was $11 in March of 2020, but by the end of the year, it was almost 30. It was the number one performing asset in 2020. And the gold to silver ratio back then was like 125 to 1. So the pandemic response consisted of years of ultra loose monetary policy and trillions of dollars printed, part of which consisted of checks that were sent directly to American citizens. And then you had trillions of dollars in stimulus back in the 2008 to 2011. There was billions of dollars in stimulus. $1 trillion is a much bigger number than $1 billion. So if we are talking about recession / depression, global crisis, financial crisis, trillions of dollars in stimulus, also a global pandemic comparing 2011 to now, also a global pandemic, whole bunch of wars, a very controversial election, several elections. I mean, a shortage, a natural silver supply crunch, record breaking supply deficits every single year. It's like if that led silver to $50 back then from 2008 to 2011, what could that push silver to today? I mean, we haven't even really started, right? And that's what they're saying right here, 2025, 26, the unraveling. These are the two dates where people would ask me back in 2019, Silver Slayer, when do you think silver is going to skyrocket? And I would say by the year 2025 to 2026. And that's because by then, all of this would catch up to us. The rise of EVs, silver photovoltaics, the amount of silver needed as we go green, the new green era, right? Solar panel numbers booming year after year. You wouldn't be able to sweep silver's critical role it plays under the rug anymore by these years. You still could in the past, but it's going to catch up to us. And when it does, silver's true value will shine, and that is by these 2 years, which was my logic, and it's looking like I was spot on. So anyways, yeah, they go into this. I mean, a lot of us know this. You know, Reddit took over from the Hunt Brothers book, coordinated a silver squeeze. So yeah. Anyways, I think this is a good article. I added my 2 cents in where I think needed. If you thought that I did a good job, like the video, please, or let me know in the comment section below. If you disagree, respectfully, you could let me know below. Just be respectful. We're all adults here. We all have the same passion. I'm just sitting here trying to make videos to help people out. I know I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I don't know why people think I think that. I don't. A lot of you have been stacking way longer than me. A lot of you know way more than me. I'm just sitting here making videos talking about silver and sharing my experience. I'm not saying I'm smarter than you. I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm just sitting here sharing my passion. So yeah. Anyways, make sure you go enter my giveaway. If you want to purchase gold, silver, platinum from a legit, trusted place, hit up Miles Franklin. Send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let him know Slayer sent you. We have gold, silver, platinum specials every Monday. So tomorrow, when you send an email, just say, hey, can I have this week's price sheet or have this week's specials come out? When they reply to your email, usually they reply within like the first 6 hours, they'll send you the price sheet. And at the top, highlighted in green, are this week's specials. The rest is all the inventory with all the prices and everything. So yeah. Anyways, I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.